That is record. It is going.
Sometimes we don't record.
That was going to be my first
It's
joke.
happened before.
The whole reason you guys hired me was to make sure that
Make sure you hit the
podcast
button.
was recorded.
You're hired to hit the button.
News team, assemble!
It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from SoonerScoop.com. Now, here's the entire SoonerScoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, it's time for the unofficial 40 podcast from SoonerScoop.com, where the place just keeps growing and growing and growing. And we are here with the entire new crew. Is a big announcement today. Happened earlier this morning. We welcome in George Stoia as the newest member of the SoonerScoop team, coming to us after 3 years covering the Denver Broncos for the Denver Gazette. Big news just released this morning. We shot a video yesterday on campus. If you haven't seen it, go to our Twitter page at SoonerScoop. Check it out.
Got in the stadium, too. That was crazy.
Okay. We welcome in one George Stoia. Congratulations, George. I guess I should say congratulations. I don't know if you feel that way yet after meeting us all in here, but it's great to have you aboard.
Yeah, it feels good. I feel like I need to change jobs every few years because everybody makes you feel like you're really good at it, on Twitter and social media. So today my ego's just exploding.
Well, a lot of those are bots, so I don't know. I mean,
Russian bots.
we need to check the validity of some of these people.
I figured I would be humbled pretty quickly on the podcast, so I'm glad to be here.
I mean, look, for people that don't know George, where have you been? The other thing is, we've known George since he was writing for the Daily, and he always stood out as, a really bright, student writer. You knew he was going places. So you can tell his career has just bottomed out now that he's with SoonerScoop. But no, it was always one of those things like, Jason Kersey left The Athletic and, decided to go to law school. And it was really interesting kind of watching how that all played out because The Athletic, at the time had sold out to New York Times. You wondered how committed they were to college football. And it didn't seem like they were going to rehire that position. And now they've gotten rid of even more people, just beat writers. And it kind of was in my mind like, well, why don't we go after an athletic quality type writer? Like we need that at SoonerScoop. And with all the other, stupid stuff that we do here and the stuff that we're building, it's like, I know Josh feels this way too, but I wanted to make sure that we didn't lose sight that we are journalism. Is at our heart. Like we want to make that as good as it can be, and then all this other stuff we're doing will branch out from there. But I don't want to go into my big spiels. I talk at classes all the time and tell them how I think about the future of journalism and all that. But
you always start with burning a newspaper, which I think is interesting.
Eric Bailey and Ryan Aber, I do not do that. Barry Trammell, I don't do that. No, but it was just always in my mind, like if we could find a way to get George, like that would really make us better as a media entity. And so all things came together. We actually had talked about this. I looked back at our messages, like how long it's been we were talking about, even before you even thought. I mean, when it wasn't even really a thought. I think is I was hitting you up like, hey, would you ever look at coming back? So going through this process, it's I can't say it's always been a lot of fun for either one of us when you're dealing with contracts and lawyers and all that stuff. But I'm glad we're finally here. I'm glad we get to introduce it today. And man, I just really look forward to the future of SoonerScoop with you on board.
Yeah, and I think to just kind of go off of that, for me, I wrote in the story this morning that the plan was never for me to really come back when I graduated, and I graduated at such a weird time during the pandemic that I was supposed to go to the Boston Globe that summer. I had an internship lined up. Obviously, that fell through with COVID and all of that. Ended up taking a job in Arkansas that I didn't really want, covering Arkansas State, Central Arkansas, college football. And then a few months into that, I got a call from the Denver Gazette saying, hey, you want to come cover the Broncos? And I was like, hell yeah, get me out of Little Rock, Arkansas, go live in Denver and cover the NFL. And
Were
that
you living in Little Rock and driving to Jonesboro all the time?
Yes, it was the worst in the world.
crap.
It was the worst job ever. But I will say I had a hell of an
I
apartment
think
there.
the Clintons used to do that when they were burying bodies.
Yeah, I can't confirm or deny that. But yeah, I lived there for, 3 months, maybe 4 months. And then I got that call to leave, jump to the NFL. And that's what I thought I wanted to do. And I enjoyed it. It was fun. It's different. NFL is obviously a huge national stage in terms of what you're writing about and those sorts of things. But I kept finding myself wanting to get back to college football. And, obviously my family's also from here, wanting to get closer to them. They live in Tulsa. I have 2 siblings that are currently attending OU. And so, the opportunity to come back here. And like you said, Kerry, you reached out. It was a while ago. And we had some conversations and we just kind of stayed in touch. And it eventually worked itself out. But, I joked earlier about jumping jobs every few years. This is a job that I could see myself doing the rest of my life. And that's because, one, I think that the way journalism is going, you talked about it, places like SoonerScoop is what's thriving. And I think you're seeing that. I mean, the ability to add a member to the team, that's not something you see, happening at other news outlets today. So, there's a lot of exciting stuff in store. I think, I have some ideas. I love feature writing and those things. I know you guys have joked about adding another podcast. I have some ideas on maybe doing something like that.
Oh, there's no joke. We're being held to our feet are being held to the fire. That
It's
we
like the
have
number
at
one
least
thing
a second
people,
podcast.
yes, we're bringing up today.
Yeah, and so that's something on my mind, and so we'll dive into that stuff a little bit later down the road. But I'm super excited. Again, this is a place that I remember as a student journalist, admiring you guys from afar, and obviously, I felt like Eddie's like little pledge brother at times, on the beat as a student. I learned a lot from him, and then obviously Kerry and Bob, and I've never met Josh in person. I think I interviewed him one time about a recruiting story a long time ago, but maybe someday I'll get to meet
Did
Josh.
he yell talk through the phone too?
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of people I think that sometimes feel like Josh might not be like an actual real human, maybe like an AI.
Yeah,
that
he's
was
Well, like with
programmed.
AI, I mean, he could die, and then we wouldn't know. Tiffany could kill him, and then no one would ever know that he wasn't real.
Just make someone with a calf tap.
No, do we
You're
get
good.
more money out of that if there is a way? I don't know, Josh. I mean, would you be willing
This
to
is a
take
hell
one
of
for
a
the
thing to come
team?
back to, guys. That's all I'm going to say.
No, but I mean, being in Denver again, Russell Wilson killing someone else's career.
Sure.
Trying to anyway. I mean, that had to be awful. Just being. I mean, he just seems like a waste of humanity when it comes to being an interviewee.
Yeah, he's. I think he's genuinely like trying to be a nice guy, but when you have to listen to him every Wednesday on the podium, and it ended up coming up like a joke, like a bingo card of what he was going to bring up, and it was very annoying by the end of it, and I do think he's a nice guy, but I also started skipping his press conferences, so I probably missed out on some of that stuff. But talking about high knees on the airplane to London, I mean, that's when I was like, I got to get out of here.
I think that was the point. Everybody nationally was like, okay, this is we've run our course here.
He
with this
turned
guy.
into Russell Wilson. Kind of became like a motivational speaker who was homeless. Like
I called it a TED Talk. I said it was the weekly TED Talk with Russell Wilson.
Did you have an open door to his office?
No. The office stuff, man, that was brutal. And the thing about that is I don't think people would have cared if they would have won football games, but they weren't winning football games. But yeah.
So I mean, you're in Denver the last few years. You're keeping tabs on Oklahoma football. Congratulations on dodging that Lincoln Riley bullet at the end there. But I mean, a year ago, I mean, it was madness. I mean, Brent at this time was trying to get ready for a spring game. People were pissed off. They were emboldened, I would say, as much as anything. Like OU set records raising money because the fan base was so pissed off. And I think the fan base, what they went through, it was a lot of anger, and then the season happens at 6-7, and then it's really split. Like you have people, I think they're like, oh, Brent Venables isn't built for this job. Like we got to move in another direction. Other people were like, well, look what Lincoln did to this program. I mean, it never really became a civil war like I think it had a chance to be. It will this year if they go 6-7. But I don't know. What did you think just watching that from the outside? I mean, you were obviously covering a team having a terrible season as well.
Yeah, I mean, I watched every game, and I've gone back and watched quite a few recently. And I think the takeaway was you watch them and you say, okay, the roster's been somewhat decimated, right? And I think, too, there was so much hype around Brent, and they got their guy and all that stuff. And, from a distance, it seemed like it was, the perfect hire. And I think everybody just assumed that it would work right away, myself included, in terms of, maybe not competing for, obviously, a college football playoff, but not going 6-7 either. But I think that you realize the roster wasn't there. And I think you also realize that, Brent went through some growing pains, and that's going to happen when you have a first-year head coach. I think that we saw that time and again with some of the game management decisions. Obviously, the close games, those things matter. And so I think it's going to be really interesting to see, how he adjusts to that next season, and we won't really know. I do think it's a good sign what they were able to do in the transfer portal. I was thinking about it the other day that, that they brought in guys from, and this is no knock on the Jeffrey Johnsons of the world and those guys, but guys from Tulane and Hawaii and some of these smaller programs where this year they're getting guys obviously from Indiana and Wake Forest and Oklahoma State. I mean, those guys are guys that can come in and make an instant impact. And I think that the biggest positive thing for them too is the ability to go 6-7 and finish with a top 5 recruiting class. That's huge. And I think that means that this thing's heading in the right direction. So I think it's going to be exciting to see, spring practice, some of those guys who can maybe step into some of those roles, because that's kind of when you first see those indications. But in terms of last season, I think that it was tough because we haven't seen a season like that since 1998. And I was born in 1996, so I've never really seen a season like that, and I think it was hard for the fan base. But I do think if they're patient, I think things will be better this year. Again, I don't think they're going to be competing for college football playoff type appearances, maybe, but I do think they'll be better than 6-7. I would hope.
By the way, as George just said there, this hire also about bringing the younger generation to SoonerScoop. So all you olds out there like me that remember, some really lean years, George never had to deal with that. That was his dad's problem.
Yeah, he was a season ticket holder in, I don't know, I put it in the story, 92 maybe. So he got more tickets. He was telling me last night he got more tickets in 94, 96. I don't know, sometime in the Blake years, because basically they were so bad he got them for cheap.
No, they had
Absolutely.
one of their spring scrimmages was a pick your seat night. Like people, you just got to go and like sit throughout the stadium and say, oh, I like this vantage point. I'm going to buy these seats. So there was desperation.
Those were the seats that the FCA wasn't using when they would come down here and bring like bus loads of people.
They had a lot of military appreciation weekends back then.
Yeah, I distinctly remember like the FCA game days or whatever.
I remember there was an entire
game.
The south end zone was full of camouflage the day that Oklahoma beat Iowa State with Jake Seals pass to.
Oh, because all the military folks were here?
Yes. That's how they kept their sellout streak going back then. But I don't think they sold out. So anyway, yeah, it's great. I mean, you guys have anything for George that you wanted to hit him up about, Josh? I mean, I know you guys haven't really had a chance to talk all that much.
Well, that's the funniest thing. Like, in all of this, I've never met George. Like, I've never been in his presence, which is just a crazy thing to say. But, like, kind of like you touched on earlier, Kerry, like, there are a lot of guys, and there are things that I talk about all the time and talk about it on this pod, that I miss being, where I am and kind of apart from the stuff, that you guys talk about when you're around each other all the time and you're in the beat, you're dealing with these things. George is a guy that I just saw from afar and was like, I like his talent. Like, I think he could be a guy someday. Now, kind of like he said, I didn't really expect that to ever come to fruition. And when Kerry and I first talked about it, kind of like you guys mentioned a while ago now, it was like, really, that's a possibility. Okay, great. And I can say, just to boost George's esteem, the reaction on the board has been good. And, Kerry kind of referenced the Jason Kersey athletic thing. And the first response when we said yesterday that there was going to be big news coming today, and it was like, if it's them hiring Jason Kersey, we riot. So there's been no rioting. They seem much happier with George Stoia, and I yet again get to put down Jason Kersey. So this is all very perfect for me, and I am very happy in this moment.
Yeah, I don't like Jason either, so that we're on the same page there.
Exactly.
Jason's bought a pod hat. I don't appreciate you treating our customer base this way.
Might need a lawyer someday too. He might need to be on the Sooner Scoop Council.
George and I were talking. We want Jason to
Especially
be
if we get like trespassing charges ever or anything like that.
we want Jason to be our FOIA lawyer. So
what is a FOIL layer?
For Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah. I was thinking of something else.
So anyway, I tell you, let's get the pod going. The Enjoy Vision Fresh Perspective look ahead as Sooners getting ready to play some basketball. Bob will chime in here on that in just a minute, but coming off an improbable win at Iowa State, whereas the women, is their last game the loss to Texas?
Yes.
That was
On Saturday.
not pretty.
Not a pretty performance on Saturday. When you get like 15 combined points from Maddie Williams and Taylor Robertson, not one to claim that I know a whole lot about that team, but I think it's going to be pretty tough for them to win basketball games if that's what you're getting out of them.
Yeah, I think the one thing that happened when we look ahead or look back is OU softball dominating UCLA, number 1 versus number 2. It was a mismatch.
The demise of the softball program, greatly over-exaggerated.
They lost to Baylor. They're done.
I also think we got our NIL stuff figured out with the softball, so going to be expecting that here this week, or at least our first initial plan to help out softball with some NIL programming. OU baseball gets some wins as well. It was nice to see coming up in the Enjoy Vision Fresh Perspective. We'll talk about their weekend coming up as well. And recruiting-wise, it was a pretty quiet week, right, Josh?
It really was. Now, finally, we get into a moment where they've, kind of looking ahead. You've got some visitors coming in this weekend, and I'm actually finishing up Woke as we speak. So there is there's plenty going on finally in recruiting after a couple of weeks where I feel like we were stuck with a little bit of filler.
Well, Enjoy Fresh Perspective is Enjoy Vision Fresh Perspective brought to you by Enjoy Vision. They have one of the world's most notable clients sitting right here in our very room. That is the Mr. Edward Lawrence Radosevich III. By the way, 2/3. We have a George Stoia III, Edward Radosevich III.
Putting together quite the. Would that be a royal kind of family type
lineage
of deal?
there?
Yeah, lineage.
If the monarchy strikes in Oklahoma, you two will be very well positioned.
Well, and you know who we're hiring as a driver if that happens? That'd be Sarah Stitt, who has wrecked multiple government vehicles. You're right, Carrie. I did use Enjoy Vision to get a laser vision in Oklahoma City. It's the easiest thing that I've ever done. Something that I thought about doing for a long, long time. And with a combination of mind-blowing technology, experienced eyeball surgeons, and exceptional patient care, it was life-changing for me. Showed up. It's like 2:30 in the afternoon. I was out of there by 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And basically had perfect vision after that. So it's something that I would recommend for anybody that is of needing vision, I guess, performance enhancement. How about that? It's a pretty good deal. For any unofficial 40 listener right now, they're giving $400 off LASIK. All you need to do is go to enjoywithme.com. That is NJOY withme.com. Use promo code U40 and you'll get $400 off if you want to check it out. It's something that I truly like. I will tell everybody, and it's so cliche to say, Carrie, but if you're thinking about it and you use contacts or if you use glasses, just go do it. It will be something that in the long run, in the grand scheme of things, that you'll be very, very thankful for doing.
So yeah, use that promo code U40, get $400 off. Your LASIK from Enjoy Vision. All right, Enjoy Vision, fresh perspective. Let's hit up on what we kind of saw this last week. I mean, Bob, are there any sharp objects around Bob over there? I'm afraid he's going to be like stabbing George and like, this is my part of the pod, bitch.
Yeah.
But the basketball team and the softball team both posting some, softball, very impressive wins. Basketball, very unexpected. I mean, they were down 14-3. They started shooting threes.
I'll be honest, I woke up at 11:13 a.m. on Saturday.
It was already 7-0
kind of groggy,
probably.
kind of groggy. Got up, used the restroom, and then I was like, "Oh shit, the OU basketball game's on," and they were in that first TV timeout.
7-0. Oh yeah.
I came back and I was like, "Okay, this is gonna get bad."
Bob, to me, what stands out is we've talked about it a lot, but Porter finally fully committed to the athletic lineups.
Yeah, but that wasn't what worked on Saturday. It was Jacob Groves, coming back from the dead, basically. I mean, the guy scored 12 points in the entire month of February and then scored 16 in Ames. And that's what they don't need it every night, but they just need someone else to contribute, to be that third or fourth guy. And something interesting that Porter said yesterday when we asked about Jacob Groves, he said, what Porter told Jacob, if you defend well, you're getting 20 to 25 minutes. Stop worrying about if I miss a shot or miss this, I'm going to be taken out. If you continue to do everything else well, you're going for at least 25 minutes. And just happened that the shot was falling too. But I think that's been a problem. And I think that's something that when we get to caravan season, that'll be a question I really will definitely ask Porter Moser. These people seem like when they make one mistake, they're wondering if they're going to be taken out, and they can't get into a rhythm, and they don't feel comfortable. And I'm wondering if that's something that Porter's going to have to adjust, because I think that's a hallmark or like a staple of these first two seasons is people are wondering, how quick am I going to get the hook if I have a charge here or a turnover there or a missed shot there? Because it's happened time and time again.
Well, and like you said, didn't expect that out of Jacob Groves, but there was. I mean, I guess you have to kind of credit OU's defense a little bit because Iowa State was just. I mean, they weren't making shots, but they were. I mean, those. I'm trying to think like some of the last possessions of the game. They had guys like jacking it up basically from half court.
Yeah, I mean they got them 38-22 in the second half, and that was just a monster game by Tanner Groves doing what Porter has talked about. Don't let your scoring dictate everything else. He had 13 rebounds, all on defense. He had 3 blocked shots, so he's controlling the paint. And Iowa State's got the post advantage. It just didn't show up on that day. And then that's why Porter Moser's still optimistic. He's like, it's not over. Like, why can't we make a run?
What's not over?
Why couldn't it be us?
Oh, win the whole thing, the Big 12 tournament?
Yes. He said that yesterday. Like, it's not over. Why can't it be us? Like,
Porter, we're still not sending Bob to Kansas City.
So like, why can't it happen? Because if they play TCU well coming up Saturday, they would at least have an instance of we played this team well on this day. Like, there would be that belief that, hey, maybe not in both games we were competitive, but at least one of those times around, we played them pretty tight and we know we can hang with them for 40 minutes.
I believe, but that also sounds like something that you would say as you're passing around some peyote in front of Doc Sadler's RV out in the parking lot of the Lloyd Noble Center.
And if they lose to Kansas State tonight, OU is guaranteed the 10 seed. If they can still find a way, like if Texas Tech were to lose to OSU Saturday and OU runs the table against the Wildcats and the Frogs, then OU would get out of the 10 seed. That's the only way that it could possibly happen.
Josh, if we hang a Believe sign in the office, does it need to be yellow and blue?
It damn well better be.
Okay,
we're not messing around. And it needs to be handwritten, not.
That's right.
We're not. Yeah.
Was it not tape?
It was taped.
Yeah.
It was taped because then, well, I guess we run into the danger of spoiler alerts, but it was ripped down fairly easily. So
I think it should be noted that I made the first Believe sign in 2005 at Putnam City North. They ripped my idea, spurred us onto the state semifinals.
Are you going to go after Sudeikis?
Largest classification in the state of Oklahoma. I mean, maybe I should. It sounds like maybe I should.
You can buy it at Hobby Lobby. I have it in my new
they
apartment.
have them? You sell them now?
Yeah, you can buy like the canvas one. I bought one. It's in my apartment.
That says Believe?
Yeah.
That the Ted
It's
Lasso
just like
sign.
the one. Yeah, it's just like the one in the show.
I think anybody that was part of Putnam City North would know that I came up with that idea.
That was me.
That was 20 years ago, or 18 years ago,
how'd
whatever.
North do this weekend, Eddie? How'd that go?
Oh, shots fired.
Man, 20-2 with 2 losses to PC West. That's fireable. Got beaten regional. Is that right? They're in regional right now, or they're going to area now?
Area this week.
This weekend, yes.
Well, Ryan Wagner, I know that there's a lot of people that like him, and he got him to number 1 in the state earlier this year. And I think he's won a state championship there. You don't make the state tournament and don't give me an opportunity to watch the Panthers, I'll be calling for a firing. I've already called for Porter Motors' job once this year. I have no problem calling for a high school coach's
You
job.
called for Jacob Groves to never play again, too, and then he had 16 points last week.
Yeah, and before I apologize for anything that I've said about it, Jacob Groves, he needs to maybe go do it again. Do it one more time, and then maybe I'll apologize.
Don't, sit on your laurels and
you
think you can stink now.
You made four shots.
What do you have, Bob, 12 points in 5 games leading up to that or something?
He had 12 points in the previous 8 games.
That's pathetic.
I could do that.
Challenge! Let's do it.
Okay, so OU softball, Bob, the double duty man now, they go to the big California tournament, and that was the marquee event. Everybody was waiting on it. And it looks like OU is getting back to their run rule ways a little bit.
A little bit. I mean, 9:30 in the morning on a Sunday. Bring your own energy, and we're going to talk with Patty here later this afternoon. But what stood out to me is the way they exploded in the second inning, all with 2 outs. Those all 6 runs came with 2 outs, and that's the type of confidence that you can really carry over. It's it doesn't matter what the situation is. We know we've got the firepower, we've got the bats, we've got the pitching. There's no game situation where we're going to be in trouble.
I know I should be subscribing to Flow Softball. I'm not going to do it.
We're done. We're done with Flow Softball.
Right. I know it goes into it's all ESPN Plus now, but I didn't. What I'm saying is, I didn't really get to watch the games, or I didn't watch the games. Is Jordy Ball solving some things at all on the mound?
How about it was Alex Storako that was the big story of the weekend.
The story of the weekend. But yeah, and even if Jordy isn't, you just hear the calmness from Patty. It's I'm not worried about it. It's going to take a little bit of time, and I like the way that she's progressing. It's she's not dominant right from the get-go. That's okay. We need her to keep getting better, to keep feeling more comfortable, and it's going to come. She's even going back to Baylor. It's it was one bad pitch. Now it ended up costing, but it was just one really bad at-bat from the entire game. So even, it's just a sign of a veteran coach, an all-time legendary coach. I'm just not worried about it. It's not even close to hitting the panic button with the team, with Jordy. I know how we can respond from this, and that's exactly what they showed throughout the course of the weekend. And now, we saw what Nicole May did in the first weekend when it mattered most, and now what Alex did last week. You have 3 legitimate pitchers that you can count on at all times. And that's not saying that Kirsten Deal won't end up being that person. She definitely could. But you already know going into March that you've got 3 pitchers that can just deliver it on any given day.
All right. I want to remind you guys, one of our great sponsors, primeshrimp.com. Go check them out, PRIME shrimp.com. I didn't have a great segue this week. I'm sorry, Eddie. I know it's disappointing to you. But restaurant quality meals in under 10 minutes. Just go on. They revamped the way that you can order your shrimp, or the way they package the shrimp, in that they're just single servings now versus getting the 2. So it's about $10, $11 per package. If you order 5 packages, use the promo code SoonerScoop, and you'll get 25% off your entire order. It is just it's great stuff, and the different flavors that they have available, whether you're more Cajun guy or you're more simple, maybe the garlic herb butter. Those are fantastic shrimps, but they've got the New Orleans style barbecue that's their latest flavor, lemon and cracked pepper shrimp, a really good one as well. So use that promo code SoonerScoop on 5 packages or more in under 10 minutes. No mess, no fuss. If you're single dude at home, you just want a good meal, get on primeshrimp.com and order those. Get them in your freezer and have those handy, and then you don't have to pay all those $30 DoorDash fees that end up biting you in the ass. So primeshrimp.com, use that promo code SoonerScoop, 25% off your order of 5 packs or more. Let's step to the combine a little bit, and I think we'll get to baseball and go through some recruiting. But George, you've covered 3 combines now?
2,
2,
I think, because one was still COVID I think.
Oh,
in
that's
the
right. Yeah.
media stuff, but yeah.
That's when basically, like, as soon as the COVID thing happened, then the players' union was like, "Yeah, why are we still doing?"
Why are you
this?
guys using the bunny ears when you say COVID?
No, but anyway, I mean, I know, like, you've gone there and you're like, it's wide open. You're probably paying attention to everybody because you don't know. Maybe you've heard that the Broncos, need this position, so there's certain guys. I don't know. Maybe you can explain it to me, kind of what your approach was when you're going there covering the Broncos.
Yeah, it's the best media event I've ever attended in terms of it's just a massive party. So I enjoyed that part of it going to Indianapolis. But basically the way it works is the coach and GM for each team will speak, I think either today or yesterday they spoke. And that's really what you're going down there to cover, because the odd thing is, unlike, here Pro Day, everybody gets to go watch them do the events. That's not the case at the Combine for the media. That, like, you get put on like a pool list and you might get selected to go watch like one group workout at the Combine. So you don't actually get to watch it. You're watching it on TV like everyone else. But they make all the players available to the media, and that's kind of where you get to go around and ask some of the guys. I mean, I remember last year, Jeremiah Hall was there, and Jeremiah was great here at Oklahoma, but no one spoke to him at the Combine, I'm pretty sure, except for myself. I went up and talked to him because I covered him when he was I think freshman or sophomore at OU. So it's a good space to kind of get to know some of the guys and those sorts of things. But for them, it's those players that are there for OU this week. It's a lot of meetings. Like, yeah, you have like the events that you want to perform well in, but the meetings, I think, have become almost more important for a lot of those guys than the Combine itself. Yeah, the measurables can maybe help you get a better draft grade or whatever. I think of a guy like Braden Willis. This could be a really big week for him in terms of testing, but I think he also will excel in those sort of interviews and meeting with teams. And you're meeting with pretty much every single team this week, and some of those guys that were in the Senior Bowl met with them out there. But it's a pretty big week for them, and I think we're seeing less and less guys kind of participate in the actual events, especially when it comes to Pro Day. Like, I don't expect some of these guys to do anything at Pro Day except for meet with teams. So it's kind of changing that aspect where I think more teams are kind of going away from those events and that sort of thing.
Well, I got to think it too. It's for GMs and coaches, like, they're realizing that people are starting to kind of perfect these Pro Day quarterback kind of routes that they're. I mean, like, you look at the Zach Wilson thing, and like everybody was so impressed with his Pro Day, and then he just has really bad first year, second year in the NFL, and now they're ready to give up on him. So it's like the Bryce Young thing. Yeah, if you're going to be the number 1 overall pick, or you think you're close to that, just have your own Pro Day, have a safe environment, go out there and look like you're the best quarterback that's ever thrown a football. And that's kind of how they make those things out to be. I am really curious, and we've talked a lot in the podcast just about the quarterback room and who's going to be out there, but the Richardson kid and Will Levy and stuff like that. I mean, I would think it'd be a pretty fascinating year to cover the Combine just to see kind of what the buzz is around the quarterbacks. Yeah,
I mean, the quarterbacks for sure. And last year it was such a weird year because the quarterbacks really weren't a big deal. I mean, you remember no one took a quarterback, I think, till, was it Pittsburgh with Pickett?
With Pickett, yeah.
Yeah, so it was one of those years where it's the opposite again this year, where there could be 2 or 3 guys taken in the top 5. The other interesting thing, too, is like I said, everybody's there. I mean, you're talking about every head coach is there. All the assistant coaches are there. This is where the Russell Wilson trade was initiated a year ago. I mean, that's when it started, those conversations. I mean, that's GMs are talking to each other, trades and those sorts of things. So it's just a really interesting time because it's everybody in the NFL that's anybody is in Indianapolis this week, and a lot of them are partying or coming up with blockbuster trades and stuff like that. But yeah, the quarterbacks this year, I think it's interesting because I think it's 1-2 between Young and Stroud, but I guess people like Will Levis, but I don't really see it.
I don't see it either.
Is the shrimp overrated?
No, it's okay. I mean, I'm a big shrimp guy, but like it's not one of those things that is something
it's
that I'm like.
Indianapolis, yeah.
It's no prime shrimp. I'll say that.
Oh wow, look at the company man already.
But it's all right. It's good.
I think the only time that we went up to Indianapolis for the Rivals camp up there, We almost went to St. Elmo's, didn't we? It might have been, the line might have been too long to get in or something. I can't remember.
There was some hang up. You're right, Eddie. And I can't remember what that was. It was that year. And I was, of course, being a Colts fan, I was so jacked to go up there. It was the first year ever that Rivals didn't do it in the stadium of the team. They went to the practice facility, which, I mean, it's something. But, like, it's still like, oh, man, that was going to be cool to, you know, kind of be around everything. But, yeah, there was – because we were downtown. Like, there was every reason to do it, and I can't remember what it was that held us up.
I want to say, like, the 2 nights that we were there was, like, one night we had some other dinner planned, and then the night that we could go, I want to say that it was, like, booked or something, that we literally couldn't get into the building. I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, we didn't draw. We should have mentioned that you were a third. That would have helped us.
I think so.
We were under my name, and it didn't have the same cachet.
And then we went and saw one of the most overrated tourist attractions in possibly all of America in the Indianapolis 500.
That is the most underwhelming place
I would go,
seen.
though. I would go to a race. I think that probably changes a lot.
But, like, do you remember, like, it was just in the middle of, like, a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like, it was just kind of there. You just kind of got there, and you're like, wait, this is the track? Because I'm used to, like, Texas Motor Speedway, and you couldn't miss that for 5 miles. And I swear you wouldn't know that place was there if you weren't looking for it.
Oh, well. Probably will never get up there for an Indy 500. That's okay. What is it? Usually Memorial Weekend, right?
Yep.
That's during baseball season anyways.
Now that Kevin Sumlin's coach again, maybe he can get you in. He's always there when he's been retired.
At the Indy 500?
Yeah.
Oh,
He knows
really?
people, yeah.
I didn't know that he was
He's
into
a big
Indy cars
guy,
and
yeah.
stuff.
Mhm.
Interesting. Well, it will be interesting to see how the OU guys do. Josh, I know that you wrote something for the website just as far as kind of looking at the 7 guys that are going to be up there for Oklahoma. It seems like if there is anything as far as buzz that continues for the Oklahoma players, Anton Harrison continues to move up the board in the first round.
He really that has been, and I know, you know, the one that kind of got everybody going was Kuiper, putting him, I think, 13th overall to the Jets in his latest mock. And, you know, both of ESPN's 2 guys are not my favorite draft analysts by any stretch of the imagination, but Kuiper is pretty good about knowing where guys are valued. I don't think he's a great evaluator, but I think, like, he does a good job kind of shaking, you know, hands and figuring out, you know, okay, this team kind of likes this guy or whatever it is. I feel like he does a pretty decent job with that. So I think it's interesting. Both, you know, again, for us as guys that watched it every week, it doesn't shock me. Like, Anton Harrison's really good, and I was kind of surprised early on how it didn't seem like he had a lot of groundswell when he initially made his announcement. What does surprise me is Wanya Morris Wanya Morris may go in the second round. Like, that is a possibility from people that you read, just because his traits are just so special. I mean, he's unique.
They also there's a select few plays where Wanya Morris kills people. But
yes.
But like, they don't show the plays where he basically just takes plays off.
He's not coming back to Oklahoma?
That was something, wasn't it?
What the hell
he
was
wishes he
that?
had like a huddle highlight so that he could just, like, these are my 5, 7, 8 plays.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't look at the entire game.
Well, I mean, that's the problem. It's like, okay, are guys going to change? Their attitude's going to change just because they're getting money? Like, maybe for a little bit, but eventually they're just going to be what they were.
Yeah.
Which is inconsistent.
It was very it's probably unfair to say underwhelming what he gave to Oklahoma, but he wasn't the All-American that I think a lot of people thought when, you know, he initially makes that announcement and those 3 kids are coming over from Tennessee with him, Eric Gray and Key Lawrence. He's probably not the guy that everybody thought Oklahoma was getting.
But he was
probably also better than what everybody wants to remember.
Well, but yeah, I mean, that's true. But, you know, I remember, like, you know, when he came in and he was sitting out, and even when he was injured, like, Gabe would always tell me, like, once he's healthy, he's the guy. Like, he's just too talented not to be the guy. And then he was healthy, and then he wasn't playing. Everybody's like, why isn't he playing? And obviously, Bill was trying to get more out of him on the practice field, which, you know, good offensive line coaches do. But I don't know. It's second round. I mean, I don't care how much talent that guy has. He's just too inconsistent for me.
I would be. I don't like third. I'd probably be in just because if he does lock it all in,
Sure.
you've gotten a huge steal. That risk reward is worth it. But second rounder, that's a guy you think's going to come in and start like probably day one, if not very early on. Like that. That's a lot of equity to put into him. I don't know how I'd feel about that.
We mentioned Braden Willis earlier. Eric Gray, another guy that I think will be interesting to see where he goes. I mean, I can't say that I've looked at every mock draft, but I can't fathom Eric Gray not being drafted. Now, he's going to be a multi-purpose guy. He's got to prove he can catch the ball, but I think he and Braden Willis probably both, receiving drills is going to be key for both of those guys.
I was listening. I think it was Lance Zierlein was talking the other day, and he's really high on Eric Gray. I think he does some NFL.com stuff. I think he's
had a really
NFL
good showing at
Network
the Senior
this point.
Bowl too. Eric Gray.
And he was saying if Gray comes in and runs a good 40, and I kind of got the impression he meant, mid to low 4.5s, he thinks he could be a third round guy. Like he likes Eric Gray a lot.
I think speed is the question.
Surprised by that,
Yeah.
but
We've seen him get caught from behind.
Time and time again.
Yeah.
Yes.
he's not a burner. I just wonder if, because that's what he spent the last 2 months working on. Like that's just testing everything about it, how to run the best possible 40. And I bet he, if it goes well, he'll run a 40 he could never, ever run again. Like he's just going to be perfect for that moment in time. But if he can go out and do it and show that it's there, I mean, guys, Kerry, you were talking a second ago about those three guys that came in from Tennessee. If you'd have told me a couple of years ago that Eric Gray was going to be the best player out of those trio, and it's not even close, I would have never believed you. He was the throw-in.
Yes, he was.
I didn't think he was anywhere near the other two.
We kind of shit on him for a while.
Did
until last year.
I was not a big fan.
No, we weren't even on the Gray train in the first couple of weeks. Looked like Marcus Major was the best running back. And then something switched.
We called for Marcus Major to replace him, for Devontae, for everybody to
when
replace
conference
him.
play started, he took it to a different level. It was like, that's what a number one back is supposed to do.
Just a Big 12 guy is what he is. No, I'm just kidding.
It's just such a
really
shame,
good.
because so many of his best games, like West Virginia, he was awesome against West Virginia, and no one's ever going to remember that.
No one wants to
fondly
watch
because
that
of the
game.
way
Yes,
that game went.
exactly.
Can I call? Okay, real quick. Let's take some guesses. I'm not going to write these down, but Eric Gray, Braden Willis, 40-yard dash guesses. We are the unofficial 40.
Eric Gray, I don't know, 4.49? Is that crazy or is that
Yeah,
low?
would
that be crazy?
That would be incredible for him.
That's big money for
That
Eric
would be-
Gray.
that's
If he
money.
runs that, he makes some
Okay,
money.
I'll tell you what's
Then
in my head for
I'll
Eric
go
Gray.
4.53.
For Braden Willis? Oh,
Eric
for
Gray.
Eric Gray.
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm terrible at guessing 40.
I 4.64.
You have to use a sundial to get my 40.
Just the
I'm
way
going 4.72.
Yeah, the way he got caught.
4.7?
The way he got caught, he never had a long touchdown run because he could never finish it.
Yeah, he was always getting caught. God, 4.7? Seriously?
I said,
Wait,
I'm
Kerry,
going
were you talking
4.6.
4.7 on Gray?
Yes.
Woo, man,
That is, I mean,
I just want to shit on him one
that's
last
still
time. That's what this is about.
But
Don't say pause. All right, don't say pause.
all right, I'm going to lock in 4.53. Is that just,
Okay, I'm
is
gonna
that
write these
crazy?
down now.
Write them down.
All right.
Is that Josh? Is that crazy? 4.53.
I went 4.57 for
Okay,
Gray. So
okay.
I mean,
Okay.
you're not far off of where I was, and I went 4.7 for Willis if Kerry's keeping track. So I'll stick with what I put in that story.
Okay, Eddie, you're going 4.53.
4.53 for Gray. Big Braden. I'll go 4.72.
Oh, that was.
Is that what you're gonna go?
Well,
you can have 4.72.
I'm going.
Yeah, we can go
we
the
can
same.
go with the same.
I mean, because I think that what is the fast? What did George Kittle run at the at the combine?
He was
Efforting.
probably pretty light then, so I imagine it was like in the 4.7 range.
Says here 4.52.
4.52.
Oh wow, that's really good.
Yeah.
Man,
I mean, he is an all-pro.
35-inch vertical. Like, I mean,
I somehow, some way, it got retweeted back into my timeline. Just his little, I guess, like the highlight portion of what he did at the combine. I forgot that he did most of it with a tampon in his nose because his nose was bleeding.
Oh, I forgot about that.
B, like just watching him move and like do the line drill, catching balls from each side. He looks so damn good. Like I still can't believe that George Kittle, the guy that we saw over at Norman High School as a rail thin,
As an afterthought to Donovan Roberts.
$165 tight end. I can't believe that he's turned into the best tight end in the NFL.
Problem is everybody hated his dad too, so it's like they weren't going to give his son any credit.
Sure.
to put it in perspective, that 4.52, Mark Andrews ran 4.67, and we know Mark Andrews can run.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think Willis is going to be closer to like 4.8. I don't know. You guys watched him more than I did, but I think he's a little bit slower.
I don't think that like speed would necessarily be his
Yeah, I bet
forte.
he's I'm 4.7. I bet is his ceiling.
What did Calcaterra run last year?
Did he go to the combine?
I think he was there because
I think
Yeah,
he did.
he
Yep.
did because
I talked to him there, I believe.
Yeah. Because he was at SMU
okay.
and then he went there. Okay, yeah.
Just say Josh. Josh wasn't there.
4.62 is what Calcaterra ran last year.
Josh, what were you on Eric Gray? 4.52.
4.57 is what I went with Gray.
And Bob, what were you?
I'm gonna go 4.62. I'll give him 2 tenths back.
Stick with my asshole pick of 4.72.
that is just not going to be good for our guy if that's what he runs.
Such a good dude too, and he's like best friends with
That
Isaiah
pushes
Thomas.
the
I'm just
boundaries
digging
of
a
the
hole.
third down back.
I do think that he can find a role somewhere. I mean, obviously.
Okay, Eddie, you went 4.72 for Braden Willis. Josh, what are you going for Braden Willis?
4.7.
4.7,
I went with 4.7
yeah.
flat.
Bob, what do you
Again,
got?
I'll
I
go-
don't think that's what he wakes up and runs, but 2 months of him knowing how important that's going to be to him being a little bit undersized, I just feel like he'll run the best 40 of his life.
4.74.
One more dagger, 4.71.
Oh,
A hundredth of
Willis
a second
under
faster
Gray.
than Gray. Yeah. Or is that a thousandth of a second? That's a thousandth of a second.
What do you think Mims runs?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Can he get to 4.3? I don't know.
Because I think he'll be one of the
I
faster
picked
ones there.
4.39.
Yep. If he can get
You're saying 4.39?
he can.
That's what I went with. And I think that's best case scenario, absolute best. Because Marvin's one of those guys that's really fast, but I don't like I don't know, watching him run, I don't appreciate it. It's more about like the people around him aren't catching him.
Is it unfair to say that as a whole, I don't think that like Oklahoma fans will truly appreciate how good Marvin Mims was until he gets to the NFL? Like just as a whole, I think everybody somewhat does. But like going back and like looking at some of the stuff that he would, or some of the catches that he would make, it just seems like it's like this guy was really,
It's just
really
puzzling
damn good.
why the first 2 years of his career he wasn't used in the second half.
Yeah. No, I mean that's
Still makes no
completely fair.
sense.
He feels like the type of guy too, and I could be totally wrong on this, but we'll look up in a couple years and he'll be playing like he'll get drafted by like the Chiefs in like the 4th or 5th round and just be like a total dude for some team.
Maybe Marvin Mims is like one of those perfect examples too of somebody that it's okay not to go to a team that sucks, which it's okay not to go very high in the draft as opposed to going to the right fit, which for a lot of guys that ends up being a really good thing.
You know what I would do as soon as I finish my 40-yard dash? I'd slip into some dead socksy socks.
They should run it.
I would run my 40 in dead socks. I don't know why not. Deadsoxy.com, DEADSOXY. I want you to go to the website right now. As the sound of my voice lets you go to the website, I want you to go to shop by color, crimson, and go look at those beautiful socks right there. They have the 8-bit Maker Bayfield back in stock. They've got the Oklahoma mixed 4-pack bundle that has the wagons on it. They're taking our cue. They're telling those people, stuff it. We're going to sell this stuff because there's no trademarks on it, I guess. I haven't talked to them about this. But what you do is you load those in your cart. I'm going with the Oklahoma mixed 4-pack bundle. It's $64.95. And what you do is you use the promo code SCOOP. When you check out, you get 25% off that order. Even if you've got some sale stuff in there. Like you get the gray with crimson, the wide stripe for $15 on sale. You still get 25% off of that. So go to deadsoxy.com. Great sponsors of the pod. Great humanitarians. And go load that card up with the Crimson collection. Or boardroom, but I don't know. Why can't wear crimson in the boardroom? I mean, get fired up. It's all crimson. Let's go on this edition of the Dead Soxy ad read. Deadsoxy.com. Promo code SCOOP, 25% off. And as always, stay Soxy. Okay, so, by the way, Anton Harrison, do we expect him to put like a crazy amount of reps up on the weights?
No, not.
Yeah.
I don't. With his length and the way he's put together, I don't. To me, if I'm him, hit 22, 23, and you're fine. No one's gonna care. Like he can't come in with 16 or something, but he needs to put up a decent number. But if he does that with his feet, he's gonna be just fine.
Too many years under Wiley.
Well, Orlando, I mean, what did he get that year that everybody made fun of him for not getting many on the
something
pro?
terrible.
It was like 13 or something.
I thought it was 12, 13,
and then
somewhere around there.
he had to lift at the pro day, and I think he got to like 18, and everybody's like, oh, okay.
He turned out all right.
Just don't do that.
14 reps.
14.
Ran 5.85.
Yeah, I mean, it was the worst pro day
you'd ever see.
It was the worst pro day ever. I mean, I remember he came back for his pro day, or his worst combine ever. He came back for his pro day, and he basically fell on his sword. He's like, yeah, I didn't prepare like I should have. Like, I didn't take it seriously, and I didn't realize it could be that bad. But he was okay at his pro day. And then, he's just one of those guys that had to show it on the field, and he has. Now he's in line for tons of money, tons of money.
That's so crazy that these guys, like, it probably, and again, I was listening to some NFL draft guys talking, and some of them have some front, office experience and stuff, and they were saying that, the combine, what happens on the field isn't taken as seriously by teams as it is, like, by the general public. But they're like, it does matter, and it's more about have you put in the work, and they want it. Then when they're in meetings, those are very important because they want to see what kind of person you are, how you retain information, all those kind of things. But they were like, it's not as important, but that it just blows me away. And it's probably because I'm a combine junkie and I want to watch every minute of it, that someone would be like, I didn't realize it was that big of a deal. Like, really? Like, this is like your job interview. Like, this is because – I mean, we all know Orlando's been thinking about being an NFL guy since he was like 10. So it's just, that's crazy that, I mean, and obviously it's worked out just fine for him, but it's just crazy that there are guys like, cause there's always a few guys like that every year. And I guess I had missed when he said that back at that point in time.
By the way, I had not really seen a lot of PJ's brother. I watched him in the Senior Bowl. I mean, if he's a freak at the combine, he is one of the most oddly shaped freaks I've ever seen. Because he was so much like shorter and squattier than I thought.
Yeah, he's like 6'1", 6'1 3/4 or something like that. But it like seeing him and like how well, like he's just jacked. And you're like, that people like, you think that dude's a freak. And he made Feldman's freaks list last year.
Yeah.
I'm like, you haven't seen anything. The younger brother's far scarier.
I always wondered like if it would be a good idea for a college program to have like a yearly pro day where they invite like people to see like compete in a combine drills, just to give kids an idea of where they are and where they need to be. I think that'd be a good idea.
Well, you mean like how
publicity?
Charleston Rambo was there for Kyler, or are you talking like something different?
I'm talking about like the underclassmen, like, have everyone compete in a combine. Like have your whole team do it, and release the results. And so you see, like, okay, well, this kid's a freshman, but he's running a 4.39 or something. It's like to me, it would build a lot of interest in your program and your players in the program. That's for.
But then you'd also have why aren't you playing the freshman? He ran 4.2.
Boy, would you ever?
Who will throw for OU on Pro Day? Will they have Dylan Gabriel go out there and throw on Pro Day?
I don't
well,
know
they've had Lossman do it before.
Yeah, Lossman.
JP.
JP Lossman did it last year.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be interesting. I'm really not sure.
But Dylan can if he wants to.
Yeah.
Because I remember, did Baker do that before his senior year?
No,
maybe,
it was. They brought out who is a receiver. Oh, was it Charleston Rambo?
Yeah, I think that's
Like
right.
he was the underclassman.
That's right.
And
Yeah,
he
that's
came
right.
out and
he caught for Baker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember Kyler was there. I mean, but like, yeah, and I think CD was eligible to do that, but they put Rambo out there instead. And we were all like, man, it would have been cool for CD to do that in front of all the coaches. So no, Pro Day is coming. I mean,
March 30th.
yeah, March 30th,
Yeah.
OU's Pro Day, and that, all the guys that aren't at the Combine, Justin Broyles, all those guys, they'll be able to have their own Pro Day. So, what was the biggest snub? Probably. I know we talked about this. I'm trying to think.
Not a snub, but what Deshaun White was able to do.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll be a guy that's very excited to participate in Pro Day.
Justin Broyles, snub.
No, sorry. I think
Damn it, George! You're just trying to upset the whole mass, right off the
we've
bat.
gone after Eric Gray. We've gone after. We need to stop.
You went after Eric Gray. It
Was more of a lighthearted ribbing, I would say. Term it as that. All right, recruiting. I know. I was told by a little birdie that there was some field painting going on yesterday. Looking like maybe they were getting it ready to look impressive for the juniors that are coming in this weekend. But it's. I know. Eddie was talking yesterday. Like, this is going to be a pretty big damn deal this weekend, Josh.
Yeah, I mean they are rolling in a pretty good group, and I really was trying to have this done. Like I said I earlier, work on woke as we do this. But I mean, you've got Michael Hawkins. He confirmed for me right before we started the pod, actually, that he'll be in. Jaden Nickens, the big receiver from Oklahoma City Millwood, 2024, 2025 guys. Probably the biggest one is Williams Maneri, the big defensive endman. I don't know what that was. From Lee Summit North, same high school as Caden Green, the 2023 signee that's already on campus. And what I like, again, and we talked about this last year, and it looks like that's clearly the way they're going to handle this. These aren't going to be the 40-person weekends where it's just a mass of people. They want to where their staff outnumbers the amount of players on campus so that everybody, there's somebody always with you or with your family or, with your coaches, whoever may attend with you. You're always getting attention and making sure, hey, you're important. We want you here. And I'm about to put this note into my last little segment of woke is I talked to a player that had tweeted out like in January that he was going to be there, a guy from Tennessee, and he was told he needed to reschedule because this is an offer weekend is what basically the rationale was. I mean, that's harsh, but it is what it is. But what's interesting about that is there are a couple of guys, local guys, LaDainian Fields from Oklahoma City Southeast, whose cousin Rodney is actually committed to Oklahoma State right now, and Harrison Utley, who we talked about last week from Norman North, who is a listener of the pod. Shout out to Harrison. Those two guys are both expected on campus this weekend. And I know LaDainian Fields was invited by Brent Venables personally. Now, does that mean those guys get offers? I don't know, but it's possible. Like it's within with the way they have worked in the state of Oklahoma. And Harrison Utley's about to push into a double-digit offers. He's got a bunch. LaDainian Fields kind of hasn't taken off yet, but he's a quality player. I could absolutely see OU finding kind of an athlete role for him, maybe as a receiver. But there are a lengthy list of guys that are coming in, but it's going to be, I would guess, 20 25 probably is the max. And you're just going to see a lot of, focus on those particular guys. And like I said, I think you're going to see probably a couple of new offers go out would be my guess.
Josh, does it feel weird to not have one commit for the 2024 class and to not have any? You're not going to have any of those guys at junior day kind of prodding or pushing, trying to get others to join him. Is that just? I mean, does it feel strange?
It does. I mean, because we're so used to, and again, part of it is just us being unaccustomed to working this way with it. I mean, we've all been so familiar with, these guys are going to be on board at a certain amount of time, and OU's pushing for commitments as early as they could get them. That's not the way this staff operates. So that's part of it. It's just the unfamiliarity. But at the same time, I mean, this time last year, Oklahoma had Josh Bates, Jackson Arnold, and Eric McCarty all on board. And in all of those cases for more than a month at this point in time. So it is unusual. Now, without going into saying too much, I don't think that run's going to last a lot longer from some of the things I'm hearing. I would have, my eye on, I think a guy that everybody's been wondering about for a while is Michael Hawkins, who is coming in this weekend. TCU has made things interesting, obviously, with the move of Kendall Briles from Arkansas to TCU, and he was thought to be kind of an OU Arkansas battle, and then, Briles moving to TCU makes it a more local possibility for him. I still really like where OU is from what I'm hearing. I feel like they've done a good job recruiting him. It feels like it may just be a matter of time. I mean, we'll kind of see where it goes from here. But if he, had something planned for this weekend, I wouldn't be shocked. I'm definitely not saying I know anything or people should count on it, but it's possible. And then, you go into some of the other guys. Bryant Wesco, who I've got a story I'm hoping to run tomorrow with an interview I did with him recently, is a guy that I think is, again, interestingly enough, is probably going to come down to OU and TCU, kid out of Midlothian, which, for those that don't know, just a little kind of southwest of the Dallas Metroplex. Very, very convenient for him to get to TCU, just up the road from Fort Worth, or I guess down the road. So those are some guys I would watch. I don't know that Wesco's coming in this weekend. I don't believe he is. That wasn't his plan when we spoke about a week ago. So we'll kind of see where that goes. But like I said, I know people are dying for commitments. I think you have to get used to the new schedule where there's going to be, I would guess most years by June, you're looking at somewhere between 3 to 7 commitments. I mean, a decent start, but nothing crazy. And then you're going to see the summer, they'll go crazy again. And then if Oklahoma can put a year together, I think those numbers start growing. You start seeing more commitments. But a lot of guys right now are kind of like, okay, I love everything I'm hearing from OU, but what just happened last year? And so, they're almost in the same spot we talked about last year, where at some point it can't be what's going to be, what will be, whatever. It's got to be about showing production on the field, and that's going to put a lot of guys' fears to rest.
So do you feel the majority of the work this month is March 4th and then March 25th, which what are they deeming it, the future freaks?
Yeah. And I'm trying to get more of a feel for what exactly that means. Like, what is that a, very strictly 2025 guy? Like, I don't know exactly what that's going to mean. But what I can say is, talking to some of the guys that I know have been invited, it's pretty clear OU wants them putting that out there on social. They want it out there that this is going to be a big weekend, and they want to do a lot with it. So I think that weekend, I'm going to guess, is probably going to be a little bigger than this one. Okay. And then 11th and 18th, I think you might have some filler, guys that can't make either
spring break visits. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yep. Just kind of like, as you can get here, hey, we'd love to have you kind of thing. But I think the 4th and the 25th are really going to be the focuses.
Yeah, you can kind of sense like that worked out really well for him last year, and Brent's trying to push. And like you said, as it gets closer, he'll start reminding people how important this is for recruiting, the spring game and that weekend. Yeah,
I mean, heck, he did it a couple weeks ago. He's like, hey, we got to break that record.
Guys, I mean, have we talked about how I got to give Brent credit? I love the promo.
Yeah, it was great.
The little bit of shade. I mean, it was just perfectly done.
Yeah, I got to think.
11 a.m.? No.
George, I got to
good.
think you were pretty jealous when you heard about the all freshman available, all transfer available thing. I mean, you know how hard that is to get to talk to guys like that. That was just really impressive what Brent did that.
I remember the days of, I think it was after the Army game in 2018 where we went 2 weeks of talking to the same
Yes, we did.
people.
We did, yeah.
And it was the access was just different then, and that's one thing that I'm excited about. I mean, I think I pointed that out in the articles that they've never done anything like that, at least not when I've been around, and you guys have been around longer than I have. So to see that, I mean, it's awesome, and it seems like all those guys are pretty good interviews. I mean, I don't know.
Don't say well spoken here.
I'm a little
I'm
a little hurt that George missed out on the Psycho Dick era of OU football.
I mean, it was like a Monty Bledsoe every single day, and he was like the worst interview on. I mean, he was a team captain that year, I think, maybe, but like
Was he really? Was he a team captain?
He was.
I have to look.
I mean, everybody was a team captain this year, but that's neither here nor there.
But he was a one-worded answer type of guy, and it was after that Army performance, and
Well, they wanted to bring Bolton because Curtis Bolton spoke too much truth.
He was. Yeah, so I remember those days. So now 4 or 5 years later, for them to open it up to every single guy, transfers included, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I just want all those USC reporters to know that I died for you. I died for your sins.
A lot of people have been comparing it to what Jesus Christ did for us.
I mean, I feel like that comparison should be made more often.
That's right.
It should be noted, I am Catholic too. So me and Eddie, I was also an altar boy. Is
There
that
you
what
go.
it's?
Yeah.
Catholics just
Three.
Taking
We got
over.
three.
Catholics are
Go
taking
ahead,
over the
Gary, Ask the
media.
uncomfortable question. Go ahead.
Proud Bishop Kelly alum. So
A little rivalry
Bishop
with
Kelly, that's a
McGinnis.
recruit on my radar.
yeah,
this year, so-
I don't like any McGinnis kids. Now,
Priest ever touch you?
is Brendan Walker still on
He is in school, but he is no longer playing.
Yeah, if I run into him, he'll hear it from me. But I think he's the only McGinnis kid out there. And
Schmidt.
obviously Gabe. I'll give Gabe
That's right.
some hell.
That's right.
What about Zach Schmidt?
The kicker.
Yeah, I don't really talk to kickers. Oh, no, I'm just
They
kidding.
don't have lives.
God, you and Eddie, this is going to be a thing.
I like Turk though. He's a guy. He won't get drafted, but somebody will pick him up. I think he might
He
make a
might
roster.
get drafted.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, he's everywhere he's gone, he's done really well. Like kicked obviously very well. He has a hell of a leg.
Yeah,
I'm sure that he'll be up in Indianapolis making.
He's up there right now.
making videos.
He has
and
already
stuff,
released a
making
video, I
content.
think.
Yeah, it's a good content opportunity. I bet him and Pat McAfee hook up at some point.
I don't think they would see eye to eye on ideology.
That doesn't mean that they might not make content together. Maybe Turk will try to baptize him or something.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. I'm sure that would go. I mean, McAfee gets baptized every week on College Game Day.
That's true.
He's been baptized in Tennessee and Waco. I wouldn't want to be in that Waco River. I don't know about that Tennessee one. Doesn't look that much cleaner. Anyway, well, with all the trains lately, I wouldn't get in any river around there. No, I think I wanted to ask you, George, just kind of, moving forward, you'll be here for spring football, March 22nd. I mean, it's nothing new to you, but kind of what are you wanting to learn most about Brent Venables as a coach?
that's a good question. I mean, one, I'm looking forward to transcribing the hour-long press conferences.
We might have to get some help finally in here for that.
But I think just what he's learned in the last year, because I do think there was part of him, and again, I wasn't here, but I think there was a part of him that came in last year that thought that they were going to be able to maybe turn this around quicker than they have, and so I think he's had to maybe step back, previously, especially after this last season, and kind of reevaluate where they're at. And so I think that that perspective from him of how he can get this thing back on track this year and keep the fan base engaged. I think it's interesting. He's trying to push for that many more people to show up to the spring game. I mean, last year it was 75,000 people.
Crazy.
After a 6-7 season, I think it's gonna be tough to get 75,000 people in there. But I think it's those things, and just meeting him and get to know him. It seems like he's pretty media friendly, but I think that those are the things. Is where can he improve as a head coach? Because I think a lot of times there's been a lot of people say, oh well, the roster wasn't there, and I think that's true. But I think Brent also probably has some room to grow as a head coach. I mean. He's never done this before, and like I said, I think there were some areas that he obviously needs to grow in as well moving forward. So just learning those things and seeing how he goes through his second spring here.
I've been in a few NFL locker rooms. I do think that when you meet Danny Stutzman face to face, he'll be the one guy you're like, okay, that's what it looks like in an NFL locker room. Guys like that.
Yeah, it's funny. This last year, obviously Nick Bonito and De'Laren Turner-Yell were in the Broncos locker room, and I chatted with them almost every single day. They knew I was from Oklahoma. I think I covered Nick's recruitment, and then his big play was the Baylor game.
Kansas State, he had the fumble recovery.
No,
the Baylor at the end of the game.
2019.
Yeah, I covered that game.
Yeah.
I covered that game, and then obviously Turner-Yell. I don't think he was playing as much then. But anyways, I got to know them. And those guys were great in there. So I'm looking forward to getting to meet some of those guys. Obviously, in the NFL, you get open locker room every day, so you get to really know those guys. That's not as much the case here, though the access seems great. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting guys like Danny and some of those other guys that seem to be pretty good media personalities.
And then you're going to be dealing with NIL stuff. Which
and
it's going to be interesting.
I will say the NFL probably helped me with that because it is. I mean, the NFL is you're talking agents, and a lot of these college kids now have at least some sort of marketing agents. Mm-hmm. You're talking to those folks. They're dealing with money and those sorts of things. Maybe not on the level of the NFL, but there seems to be a lot going on with NIL, and I know we have some plans with that moving forward too. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't always enjoy the business side of sports, but I know that that's obviously become a huge thing here with all the collectives and things like that.
Now, just a couple things just about you personally. I wanted to kind of ask you about, like, we've talked, we know you grew up an OU fan, an OU family. What, sports teams pro-wise did you kind of grow up following?
That's a great question because I didn't really have an NFL team. My favorite player growing up was Adrian Peterson. And so I followed his career in Minnesota. And so I sort of I became a Vikings fan, but you can only cheer for Christian Ponder so much. And I just did not enjoy those Vikings teams. So I never really had an NFL team. I hated the Cowboys just because I thought they were annoying and I didn't like their fan base. I've never been much of a baseball guy. So I'd never really had a baseball team. Bob and Eddie probably won't like this, but I did go to quite a few Cardinals games growing up. So I didn't mind St. Louis. I liked Albert Pujols a lot.
Right,
he was my guy.
It's time to
right. Let's go back.
And then, I basketball, obviously Thunder. When the Thunder came, I was 12, I think. And obviously they went on those great runs. And I still hate Kevin Durant to this day and wish him, nothing but the worst in Phoenix. But I love the Thunder and I still follow them. It's disappointing to look like I guess it's not disappointing. I guess they're going to tank again now and maybe get Victor. But those are my teams. But again, that's part of why I wanted to get back to college sports is that's what I grew up on. And when you grew up in Oklahoma and, my dad played in the 80s from 1982 to 1984 for OU, you grow up in Oklahoma. OU football is professional football to a lot of people. I mean, it's Saturdays in Norman are a big deal, and they were for my family. They still are. So and we traveled. We went to different games and things like that. So I mean, I remember my dad videotaped the 2000 national championship game and showed it to me when I was like 6. And was like, this was the greatest game ever played. I was like, it was 13-2, but that sort of thing. So that's why I'm excited to be back is I grew up around it. And, I think I didn't miss a game from like 2004 to all the way through college, home game. So I've been around it and I feel like I know it pretty well.
And you're kind of a mainstream rock and roll guy, but you live in the 80s, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have really thrived in the 80s. Like, I thrive now, but I think I would have been really good in the 80s, like when you didn't have to like text and be on social. I love social media, but I also hate it. I think I would have been great. But yeah, my music taste is, I've seen Journey 3 times. I've seen Def Leppard 3 times. I saw Styx this past summer. I saw Bruce Springsteen a couple weeks ago in Tulsa. So it's kind of all over the place. I want to go see Brooks and Dunn here in, I think they're coming to the Paycom Center in May.
Yes, they are, because I remember giving away tickets to that on the radio.
Yeah, I want to go see them. And so I'm a big concert guy, but I also love, like, I went and saw The Weeknd. I bought floor tickets to go see The Weeknd in Denver. Jimmy Buffett at Red Rocks. I don't remember much of that concert, but I was there.
Post Malone in Denver, like the last big concert before COVID shut everything down?
I have no idea, but I would see Post Malone. I would see anybody in concert. I would go see Taylor Swift in concert, but I also don't want to pay $1,000.
Yeah, you got to know people that know people that know people to get those tickets.
If you said you were going, people were going to start wondering what we were paying you, George, like how you'd been hired. It was going to become a real thing.
I've already had one of those calls today. If you want to get into Kings of Leon, we can get you in there.
Do you accept this recording from McAllister?
Carrie, like our worlds are colliding. Kings of Leon playing at Wrexham in Wales.
I know, and I knew about it. I should have told you that. It's, a 2-night event. Yeah, the pre-sales went on sale today.
That's unbelievable. That would.
I'm watching Ted Lasso.
I've seen Kings a couple times, but that would be cool.
I'm watching Ted Lasso. I'm picking out Ted Lasso themed music for videos. Like, want to put a Believe sign up. It's like, I've never been closer to you in my life, Josh.
I know. We've really this. I mean, I would say in the last 6 months we've probably had more phone conversations than the prior 6 years. There's been a lot. It's been a lot of mail bonding.
Is Tiffany jealous? Do I have to worry about anything when I come see you next?
Again, as I have said before, that woman operates needles all the time. Anytime you are in her presence, do not turn your back to her. Do not trust anything. You are always in danger.
I'm shooting myself up these days, so that's good.
My
Back on the tee.
My dad did want to know, Josh, if I get a chance to meet Linda, even though I think you've moved on from Linda. But
they fired Linda. Yeah. It was a disastrous situation.
Linda fired herself. Interestingly enough, she just stopped coming. I don't know if I did something wrong. I thought Linda and I had a good rapport, but we clearly did not.
I'll just stop staring so hard.
But it's a pretty lady. What are you supposed to do when they're in your house all the time? It's why eventually my new cleaning ladies just leave. So I just avoid all that temptation. But no, we have a Miss Yesenia now who does a very nice job. Little off with her punctuality, which can drive me a little crazy sometimes, but a nice lady who does a good job. So all good.
Yeah, I just had to ask that. My dad had 2 requests today, and he said that he wants to tour the office at some point. And I said, we can do that. And then he said, I had to ask about Linda. So I made sure to do that.
The good news is you're already much more familiar with The Office than I am. I get to see The Office like 2 or 3 times a year. That is Carrie's baby. And he's like, I changed this and I changed that. And it feels new to me. And he's like, yeah, we did that about 6 months ago. So I'm always behind.
Don't read the board. They'll tell you that we haven't done anything. So
yes, fact.
Baseball, they're kind of started winning a little bit against Ryder. They won the final 2 of that series after dropping the opener. Do we see any progress? Do we see anything on the mound that makes you think, okay, they're going to start figuring out Friday, Saturday, Sunday starters?
I mean, the starting pitching hasn't been the problem. It's been offensively. They just haven't been able to score runs. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to win too many baseball games in the college world if you're scoring 3 runs a game.
Right.
So they did get the offense going a little bit better over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday. This is kind of a big week. We'll see what they have coming to Arlington.
Deal, right?
Yeah, they got Frisco this weekend. They have Arlington on Wednesday night down in Arlington. So they're actually just staying there all week. So UTA tonight, and then Michigan, Ohio State, and Mississippi State over the weekend. So down at the Frisco Baseball Classic, it'll be kind of interesting to see what this group comes out of this week record wise with Jackson Nicholas, John Spikerman. those guys are starting to come around a little bit after slow starts. I think for what a lot of people expected from them as
still waiting on Kendall Pettis.
Veteran players. Pettis he's not hitting the ball, but he's also not getting out either. He's walking a lot, and I think that was something that towards the end of last season when they went on that run to go to Omaha, that he was able to do is kind of sit down at the bottom of the lineup and almost be a leadoff guy down there, if you will. So once they get on base, it's going to be a massive positive. Just got to get guys in. And, I think that even when they weren't scoring runs, they were getting guys on base. They just weren't getting key base hits.
Any new faces that you're just like, together. Whoa, I like what I see
Anthony
there?
McKenzie had a hell of a weekend. He had 9 hits. He got robbed by the Big 12. He should have been newcomer of the week or Big 12 player of the week, either or. He was 9 for 13 over the weekend. He's on an 8-game hitting streak. Kind of been a surprise. I think that there was a lot of people that thought offensively they were going to get a little bit of a drop off, and I think they probably still will over at first base. But replacing Blake Robertson, he's been really good. Dakota Harris has been really good handling the bat. Obviously, he's a really good defensive shortstop, taking over for Peyton Graham, and Bryce Madron's I think walked like 15 or 16 times so far this year. So he's kind of ahead of schedule.
Big 12's a little busy these days playing Is This Racist with food menus, apparently.
Yeah, I saw that. I cover the SEC. I don't really care what the Big 12 does. I did get an email during the podcast today from my apartment complex. We're still battling.
We need to get an update.
We're still battling over there to get in. And, basically they told me Thursday was going to be the day. They got to move basically, they got to move a bunch of stuff in my living room to be able to paint. So I had to go basically sign this permission slip that they could get that done. And I figured, hey, it is what it is. It's been 2.5 months, but, I'm willing to, kind of leg this one out a little bit. It sucks, but maybe we could see the end in sight. Let me read you this email.
Story time.
Hey, Eddie, I just want to touch base with you. The crew said that they would be starting moving items on 3/2, which is Thursday, tomorrow. Okay, that's no problem. Their projected completion date is March 17th.
Wow. St. Patrick's Day.
I am pushing for completion earlier than that, but I wanted to give you information I have at this time. Let me know if you have any questions, concerns. So I responded, yeah, I do have questions, and yeah, I do have concerns. I've taken it to social media, and Belfour is the people that are responsible for this, that are responsible for the renovation. They're the worst company in America, and they've now pissed me off so much. I'm going to be their worst nightmare. And I've also told my apartment complex I'm ready to move. I'm going up there as soon as we get done today, and I might be moving by the end of the day. This is so incredibly incompetent that I'm glad that I'm not psycho, because I just go to Walmart and I might.
No, you won't.
So, Eddie, what do they have? Is painting all they have left to do?
No, I mean they have to like come in and redo
put up
everything.
the drywall
like
yet.
the drywall is still.
They have to put up.
Okay, I was like painting. 2
Yeah,
weeks.
I'll
That's the drywall. They have to tape. They got to joint compound, all that crap, and then they got to let that dry. Then they got to put texture and paint and all that crap. I mean,
it's incredible how incompetent they are.
Is it pretty much every wall is just studs?
Yeah, I mean, well, just in the kitchen.
Yeah,
just in the kitchen area.
But that's
everything
also
else
your
is
living
under,
room area.
Yeah, everything.
Too, right?
Well, I don't have a living room. Everything else is under tarp.
Okay.
So it's so incompetent that somebody's gonna have to talk to me this afternoon, and I feel very unfortunate for that person.
For whoever has to do it, yeah.
Well, Eddie, you're more than welcome to stay at my place. I'm moving in today, and we're practically neighbors.
Yeah.
So,
well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
My couch is open.
Thank you. I mean, the other option is ending up in the Oklahoma City jail, and I'll die in there. So, I guess the only way is maybe doing that.
Can I at least just maybe to throw some good vibes at you? Wish you a happy early birthday.
Thank you.
Coming up on Sunday, Edward
Thank you.
Radosevich
Well,
will be celebrating birthday.
There's nothing else that I want to do is spend my birthday, possibly living with my parents for the next couple weeks, or B, in the Oklahoma City prison, or C, on the floor at George Stoia's apartment. And, there's some of those that sound more appealing than others.
We could share a bed.
George, credit to you. I feel like you're number one on that list.
Yeah, I definitely
I feel
am.
like he's option number one, best
Yeah,
option
I
number
definitely
one.
am.
I mean, no offense to Karen. No offense intended there.
I have stayed in the drunk tank one night. That wasn't that fun, but it wasn't horrible.
Never done that. I've never spent any time in jail.
I'm
Probably
going to
should
plead
have
the
a couple
fifth on
times.
all of that.
I
I'm
did
just
have a
gonna
guy
just
come
stay
after
right
me.
at
I
all
took
that.
care of him quick. So, all right. No, I'm sorry about the apartment, but
It's all right.
happy early birthday.
Thank you.
to
I
sir.
appreciate it. I appreciate it.
By the way, I noticed somebody was asking about what watch you were wearing. Do you want to get into that at a later time in your video?
Yeah, because I don't even know. So
Later time.
Well, it has a story to it. But I don't know if we want to tell that story now or you want to tell that story.
we'll do it on another day
Okay.
when I'm in a better mood.
This is a George day. It's all about George Stoia, the third, and Eddie Radosevich, the third.
That's right.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast. Appreciate you guys listening. Welcome to George Stoia. Much more to come. We're going to let him move in first before we just make him start writing stories for the site on a daily basis. So the work is to come, but we're glad to have him here. Glad that he made the move from Denver back to Oklahoma to be a part of this. And much more to come from George, from the studios, from the rest of the crew. So thanks for listening. We'll see you back here next time on another edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast from SoonerScoop.com.